G'day guys, Rukshan here. Thanks for joining me for the news vlog. First up, I have a story out from New Zealand. It's a ridiculous story that highlights a miscarriage of justice. Now, this is from the BFD. And last year when Posey Parker was here, there was heated scenes outside of Melbourne Parliament and many other places around the country where she attended. And she also attended New Zealand. Now, during that time, as she was trying to speak with a number of women around women's rights issues, they were set upon by a mob, which, looking at what happened during that time, was instigated really by the media and by a lot of the progressive left-wing libtards in New Zealand. That's my favorite word these days, libtards. And, there was some horrific scenes that occurred that day, most notably, of course, Posey Parker being threatened and almost mobbed by a lynch mob who wanted to effectively, it appeared, bash her or at least harm her to the extent of killing her. I mean, that's how serious it looked like when you look at this ferocious mob of trans allies and others who were there to oppose women getting together to discuss safe spaces for women in this evolving world that we live in, where gender and sex and all sorts of notions are being flipped around in all sorts of directions that I won't get into too much detail. Now, during that time, another lady that attended, a grandmother, almost 80 years in age, was also bashed and assaulted and hit in the face. And you can see an image of her there with a black eye. It was quite a significant assault that was captured on camera, and it went viral at that time. And many people were looking for this granny basher, this individual that was caught on camera bashing this old lady. And he was found. There was a case around it. And really now, when we look at the circumstances of what's transpired from the verdict in this case from the judge, it looks like a miscarriage of justice. This individual who bashed this granny, this young individual, I think he's around 21 years old, there's a suppression order on his name, so you can't say his name in New Zealand. You can't show an image of this individual that attacked this grandmother in media reporting and so forth. Even on social media, it is you can't give details of his name even, I believe. So it is a very strict suppression order around a man who is assaulted, bashed a woman at a women's rights rally, and now he is being protected, and people who now say his name, show his image, or anything of that sort who break this suppression order will now have law enforcement coming after them. This is the twisted world that we live in. So I'm going to read this from the BFD. This is by Cam Slater. Woke judge gives granny basher a free pass. And I want to thank someone brought this to my attention yesterday as well, that I should cover this story. And it's a very important thing to cover because we're seeing these type of suppression orders being used widely now to protect individuals. As expected, a woke judge has given the granny basher a slap on the wrist with a well-soaked paper sedative, effectively signaling that if you are an effed in the head trans activist, you can assault people for daring to have a differing opinion from you. A man who admitted to punching a 71-year-old woman during a protest against Posey Parker has been discharged without conviction. The protester, who was granted permanent name suppression, appeared at the Auckland District Court on Monday, where his lawyer, Emma Priest, sought for him to be discharged without conviction. The 21-year-old, who was charged after activist Callie J. Keane Minshall, also known as Posey Parker, was set to speak at Auckland Albert Park in March. Judge Kevin Glubb said the offending was moderately serious given the attack to the head. However, he accepted the man was genuinely remorseful and acted in a way that was completely out of character. On the balance, given his neurodiversity, Judge Glubb accepted a conviction would be out of proportion to the gravity of the offending and discharged. Judge Grubb said that he did not detract the impact the offending had on the victim. Now, the victim has spoken out, and she's not happy about how all this has been carried out. I think this guy was given a $1,000 fine, no conviction recorded of his name, and they're saying that he's got some sort of neurodivergent issue, some type of autism, or he's on the spectrum. So therefore, he was caught up in the all the craziness that was happening around him, and he acted out and he bashed this granny. So no conviction. What does this show you about where we're heading in the justice system? Now, I'm not going to read any further into this. You can go look into this. People are sharing his name, his image. I'm not going to do any of that on these videos because who knows how these things work and how they'll try to take these kind of videos down where you name individuals like this who are being protected by the state. I think it's very important that people know who this person is, because he might lash out and beat more people up, right? And this judge has to be accountable if that ever does happen. If this individual dares just touch another woman in this way, hits a grandmother or hits anyone really, it's on this judge that has given this suppression order and is protecting this individual and people from knowing what this character is like. And on that suppression order, right now, I believe in the magistrate's court, a suppression order is being discussed as it relates to this kidnapping incident, and assault and robbery and all sorts of crap that we heard about not that long ago. Sorry, I'm talking about it in these terms because it should have never been suppressed, but it was suppressed extraordinarily. And the media is now fighting that suppression order in the magistrate's court. So this is related to a kidnapping here in Victoria. I'll just read a little bit of this article. You might remember this story from a couple of days ago. Man says he was attacked in hate crime hammer horror because he works for a Jewish boss. A man who was allegedly kidnapped in Melbourne Northwest and had his finger broken with a hammer fears he was attacked because he works for a Zionist Jewish boss. So this has some things to do with activism and individuals in that crowd. I can't even talk about it in great detail, but you get the drift. So this is now being this here. I'll read this. His Herald Sun is fighting the suppression order in the Melbourne Magistrates Court on Wednesday afternoon, which the court incorrectly stated was being defended by Victoria Police. So yeah, let's see what happens. Then I'll bring you news on that. Next story, guys, is from this fact checkers RMIT Fact Lab. Now, we know that ABC has dumped them, and there's been many stories done on RMIT Fact Lab and the fact checkers here in Australia. I have, of course, extensively covered this as well for a while, doing my own little investigations into these dubious organizations who have been lording over us with their power, especially the awesome power given to them by social media companies, in this case, Meta. And there's been a lot of things that have come up, and most recently, Sky News, Jack Horton has come up with these freedom of information requests and found some startling evidence of what appears to be a compromised fact-checking network that's being run on behalf of Meta to do the accreditation. And there looks like there's types of collusion or premeditated planning around how to deal with media coverage of certain issues by the people who are meant to be accrediting fact checkers like RMIT Fact Lab and RMIT Fact Lab, who are responding to requests from the media. Now, it doesn't seem like much of a big deal, but if you look into the way that these organizations are meant to be run according to Facebook, this would mean that there is some type of at least compromise conspiracy happening behind the scenes that is targeting people, individuals, for instance, targeting conservative news outlets in some instances, and they're working hand in hand. Possibly Meta even knows about this. I mean, I'm just alleging this based on the fact that nothing has been said about this or done about this, and there's been no transparency around this. So let me just quickly read this. You can find this on Sky News. Just look up Bombshell Dossier, and you can go down and actually read some of the emails that RMIT Fact Lab and this IFCN network, which is run by the Poynter Institute, which has links to Soros funding, of course, and other international organizations, which in itself is, questionable when you think about it. This is what the IFCN, the accreditor that's meant to be looking into RMIT Fact Lab, after it was found that they were not accredited and there were certain issues around their fact checking. This is one of the emails that she sent off to RMIT. Please know I stand ready to make any statement in support of fact checking in Australia. Don't hesitate to reach out this weekend if I can be of assistance. I'm going to read that again. Please know I stand ready to make any statement in support of fact checking in Australia. Don't hesitate to reach out this weekend if I can be of assistance. So all of this is happening as we're having this major media attention on RMIT Fact Lab and some of their, dubious fact checks around the Voice to Parliament that were called out, and some of the other investigative stuff that was happening around their relationship with Meta. We saw the contract being made public during that time, as well as the fact that their accreditation had lapsed. So this IFCN are the accreditors, and now during this time, they're sending emails between each other. They're sending the emails they're getting from Sky News asking these questions and trying to come up with a game plan how to explain all of this. Now, again, it seems very not that much trivial on the surface level, but when you look into it and you read a lot more of these emails, you see this relationship between these entities. and it doesn't feel like it's a serious, accreditation process. It feels like just pals, just giving each other a pat on the back and accrediting them and giving them ticks, and it's just all a scam, right? It's all a scam. This whole thing is a scam. That's all I'm going to say about this. So you can go and read these emails. There's an extensive report here done by Sky News, and you can see all the emails here if you want to have a look at yourself how this scam of fact-checking works. I think it's a big story, and people who are going to be investigating this and looking into this further may have opened a little bit of a window into how Meta works as well, and this might become an issue for Mark Zuckerberg internationally. So that's all happening here from Australia, and all thanks to the dubious nature of how RMIT Fact Lab, ABC Fact Check, these organizations have worked, and thanks to the reporting of Australian journalists from Sky News. And I would like to also take credit for some of my reporting and looking into RMIT Fact Lab and not letting them off the hook. I think it's made a bit of a difference in this regard. Next story is, guys, from the US. Let me just refresh the latest results from Super Tuesday. I'll pull it up here. Trump is having quite a massive Super Tuesday. So even Biden himself has had a pretty good Super Tuesday as well. So the Democratic primaries are running as well. He's only lost one to someone in American Samoa. So that's the only defeat that Biden's had in the Democrat primaries, and he's the incumbent, of course. But when it comes to Trump and Nikki Haley, Trump has dominated Super Tuesday. You can see here some of the results from the states that were doing the primaries today. All but one have gone Trump's way. I think Alaska, that's still to come in the count. But you can see majority there, except one, which is Vermont, which has gone to Nikki Haley. She's gotten, I think, 17 delegates from that. But the majority of the delegates, 493 overall, have gone towards Donald J. Trump. So just another massive win as the Trump machine keeps rolling on. He is pretty much, the Republican nominee, regardless of all the noise around him. I discussed this yesterday as well. There's like Nikki Haley, who knows what she's doing. There's going to be some type of deal that they're going to come together where Nikki Haley has to, give up and just leave this and hopefully come under Trump's good graces and work together in a positive manner to beat Joe Biden come the 2024 election on November 5th. Now, how is the rest of the world reacting to this? And this is from a bit earlier. This is Bill Gates talking about the consequences of the 2024 election. And then I'll show you how some of the other people are reacting to this as well.
We talked a little earlier about the sort of relative rise or decline of democracy around the world. I guess the one democracy in the world that we always assumed would be fairly healthy and fairly strong was the one where you come from, the United States. And that actually feels quite vulnerable to me at the moment. Can I get your assessment of the health of American democracy right now?
Well, it's a little scary because we have populism, which you would expect, but it's come in a form where the ability to accept election results is really up in the air. And some of the norms about what the government does and how it works. So, yeah, it's a big election that'll take place in November.
Do you get active in that?
I've always worked with whatever administration is in power. I worked well with Democratic presidents and Republican presidents. But, we have quite a contrast in terms of being willing to help other countries, for example, foreign aid, even programs that were created by Republicans like the PEPFAR, which is
I can't stand listening to Bill Gates. There's just something about Bill Gates being involved in anything, commenting on anything like this, with just you just want to question everything else around him when he starts talking. And we know of his multiple dubious contributions to the world when it comes to, for instance, the pandemic and the things that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation works on, and these other programs by extension, where he even came to Australia to talk about some sort of cow farming, some type of weird concept that he's working on, which of course is to the detriment of any other industry in the world, for instance, like farming. Now, another reaction to this, what's happening right now, is from MSNBC. They never disappoint. Let's have a listen to Joy Reid talking about why Donald Trump doesn't look as old as Joe Biden. Let's have a listen in.
You had one crisis, bruh. It was called the pandemic. And you know what you did? You bollocksed it completely. You did so poorly at managing your sole crisis. The one hard thing to do, the reason he doesn't look old like Biden looks older, the presidency ages you when you do the job. Obama went gray because he was doing the work. Donald Trump looks the same as when he ran because he was playing golf the whole time. His one job
you think
was
that
to
hair
manage.
color's natural?
That too. But the reality is, he had one job: manage this crisis, and he messed it up so badly that they had to do the stimmy. People love the stimmy. Why did they have to do the stimmy? Because 1 million bodies are in the ground.
It was
because of how
Democrats.
poorly he managed an airborne
It was the
virus.
Democratic plan.
Donald.
So, yeah, I mean, look, happy to debate about Donald Trump and his performance during the pandemic and many world leaders around the world. And of course, it's a contentious issue and many people have their views. But just on the point of him not looking as old because he wasn't working during that time, he was just playing golf. And the reason that Joe Biden is an old senile man with a well-meaning, with a forgetful memory is because he has been working really hard. Now, this is ridiculous. And beyond all of that, when you look at Joy Reid here, who is also a questionable character, her hair, it feels like many people also comment on this, that she is culturally appropriating Donald Trump's hair, right? That is not her natural hair. But yeah, complete madness from these individuals. And speaking of madness, see this image here? I've seen these images throughout my life, and they're iconic images. You see it whenever you see a documentary or something about that period in our history of the world, particularly at the end of the world wars, where you had these type of scenes happening. Now, this particular image, right, someone from the Veteran Affairs sent out a memo to ban this image from being shown because of what it depicts. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but let me read this article and give you guys a bit of insight into what's going on here. VA reverses plan to ban iconic WWII kiss. Photo from medical sites. Veterans Affairs Secretary Dennis McDough is overruling plans to ban a famous Times Square kiss photo marking the end of World War II from all department healthcare facilities, a move criticized as political correctness run amok. The ban was announced internally at VA medical facilities late last month in a memo from Rima Nelson, the Veterans Administration top operations official. Employees were instructed to promptly remove any depictions of the famous photo and replace it with the imagery deemed more appropriate. The photograph, which depicts a non-consensual act, is inconsistent with the VA's non-tolerance policy towards sexual harassment and assault, the memo stated. So let me read that again. The photograph, which depicts a non-consensual act, is inconsistent with the VA's non-tolerance policy towards sexual harassment and assault, the memo stated. Now, this is a very famous image. Was it non-consensual? Do we even have to consider such a thing? You saw the celebrations. You've seen the videos from around that time. People were running around kissing each other. They were celebrating. They were happy that the World War II had ended. As gloomy and doomy as everything was, the fact that the elation that people felt, they were celebrating because why? Young men didn't have to go fight and die in wars anymore. Other people were returning back to the country. These nurses or other individuals, these women who were in America, they were happy. Their husbands are coming back. Their boyfriends are coming back. Just the fact that people were just happy. So they were kissing and celebrating. I don't think this needs to be looked at from this new era of this kind of woke decisions and saying that this image now has been stated to be depicting a non-consensual act. Let me just keep reading more from the memo. To foster a more trauma-informed environment that promotes the psychological safety of our employees and the veterans we serve, photographs depicting the VJ Day in Times Square should be removed from all Veterans Health Administration facilities. The memo garnered public scrutiny after it was posted online by the X account Wokeness on Tuesday. So this is a legit memo, and they try to deny that this memo was actually legitimate and real. But no, this is a legitimate memorandum. It was very detailed around removing this image. And it's just bonkers, right? Just bonkers, the stuff that these people in administration, these bureaucrats, are wasting their time on. Like, you wouldn't even think this would be a story, but it is. Cool, guys. Next story I have is long COVID. Sorry, I just can't help myself when I read this stuff. Long COVID could be the reason for your bad hangovers research. Now, I can't talk too much about the technical research into this, but long COVID could be the reason for your bad hangovers research suggests. The study, I thought the reason for your bad hangovers is drinking too much. The study published in the journal Curious looked at patients who had been dealing with lingering symptoms from a COVID infection, and all of them self-reported more severe hangovers. 4 patients were recruited from post-acute COVID syndrome clinic FACS at Stanford University, which treats people with long-lasting symptoms stemming from COVID. Researchers at Stanford stated a noticed connection between a persistent COVID symptoms and those who report experiencing worse hangovers than they typically do. One case study who suffered from COVID for 11 months claimed that wine now gave her a bad hangover and made her feel like she cannot move. Now, I'm not going to read any more into this, but I don't know if you've noticed this. There are so many studies being done on this so-called long COVID, and they link it to all types of other things. Like here, you've seen this linkage made to hangovers. You can find so many examples. Just look up long COVID and links to so and so, right? You can find many examples of this. Why is this happening? Like, there's so many researchers willing to make these type of connections, whether they're legitimate or not. It's a scientific thing, and it will be tested, I guess, by people and by the peers. But there's another issue that they don't really want to look into, right? There's another issue that many people don't want to study and make these type of connections about anything. But they have plenty of time to research whether long COVID impacts hangovers. Strange. I find it very odd. Next story, guys, is the Jacinta Allen government from Victoria has refused to hand over a report in the safe injecting rooms by the deadline. I think the deadline was today, and they still haven't handed it over. And this deadline was put to them because they hadn't handed it over when they received this report last year. An independent arbiter could be called in to determine whether the Allen government needs to release a long-awaited report into the city's second drug-injecting room. Despite persistent calls for its release, the government has been sitting on the report by former top cop Ken Lay since receiving it early last year. The Legislative Council late last month passed a motion ordering the Allen government to release the report, giving them a deadline of March 6th. Leader of the Upper House, Jacqueline Symes, who on Wednesday claimed the report could not be released under an executive privilege defense, has been given another chance to make it public. Earlier on Wednesday, Ms. Symes said, "We will be claiming executive privilege just for the purpose of responding to the motion. I want to reaffirm the government's commitment to release the report accompanied with responses from the government. A new motion to introduce by the opposition on Thursday will require Ms. Symes to table the document by 1 p.m. on April 30th. Now, what's the bet that April 30th comes around and these people still haven't tabled this document and made it available to the public? What is in there that they don't want anyone to see? It's been sitting with them for so long, and they had this deadline that they knew was coming up. They didn't release it. Now they've received this, so-called extension till the 30th. This seems like schoolyard stuff, right? It's like getting an extension on your homework. And when these people are meant to be the people who are leading this state, particularly after the post-Andrews era, this new premier that we have, Jacinta Allen, you're getting more and more of the same here in Victoria. Nothing has really changed. We are a state in a constant state of, corrupt politics, I would say. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know if you think it's important that we see this report as members of the public. Last story, guys, is this story about Doritos. Doritos hired a Dylan Mulvaney style trans influencer, I guess, to promote their brand, and it didn't go down too well. So let me read the story. Dorito fires trans activist 2 days after bringing her in as a brand ambassador after being alerted to sick tweets about doing depraved things to a 12-year-old. You really have to start to question what these PR companies, these marketing companies in these major businesses are thinking when they're planning things like this. Do they actually not do their own research? Why is it that individuals on sites like X or 4chan and things like this can, in a matter of hours, when seeing these individuals, pull up all these details about their nefarious activities or things that they've allegedly done or said, but the campaign people leading this stuff don't seem to find it at all. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they actually want to get away with it. Maybe they promote these things because they agree with the views of this individual. I mean, that makes more sense. Doritos has fired a transgender activist who appeared in one of its promotional videos after being alerted to her sickening old tweets, including one where she wrote about doing depraved things to a 12-year-old. Samantha Hudson, 24, appeared in a new partnership with Doritos Spain through a 50-second video called Crunch Talks that has now been deleted from the brand's Instagram. Doritos told Rolling Stone on Tuesday it would no longer work with Hudson, saying it had been unaware of her previous inappropriate posts. The decision follows massive backlash on social media as users posted grabs of Hudson's previous comments. Born Yvonne Gonzalez Rondeo, Hudson has identified herself as anti-capitalist and Marxist in interviews, and claimed in one video to be for the abolition of and to destroy and annihilate traditional monogamous nuclear family. As teen, she has also tweeted about wanting to be depraved things to a minor. Anyway, there was the face of Doritos. I have no idea what I just clicked on. But yeah, look, guys, that's it for me today. Hope you've enjoyed my news vlog show. If, as always, you can follow along with me on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. If you want to get updates as I post, hit the notification bell and you'll be alerted to my posts more readily. You can also find me on X, Instagram, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and Odyssey at The Real Rukshan, or on my website at www.realrukshan.com. See you guys all next time. Bye.